CBS will bring you the game of the week, year, century, millennium. It's A&M against Alabama. Gary Danielson will be there with, I believe, Vern Lundquist. Tomorrow afternoon, College Station. Gary joins us now. Describe the feel in College Station, Gary.
I don't do that kind of stuff. I went to practice. I watch tape. I study in my room. And I went for Mexican food. What interests you out of those things right there?
But don't you feel, you go on campuses, you're around, like, there's certain games that feel differently.
Everybody's wearing their jerseys, but it's kind of like this in this conference. I'm very fortunate. I do a big game every week. I had the last game of the century. The shelf life of these things lasts about a year and a half now, But everybody's got their jerseys on. They're all great people. These are university towns. They love these games. I took an hour walk yesterday. I went out to the monument where the bonfire, where the students passed away, died in a tragic accident, and took that in. But I really try to stick to X's and O's. I think that's my job. One of the things that I learned late in life, I wish I would have learned it a little earlier. I think what Belichick says is true. Do your job. If I can concentrate on my job, but we know that this place is going to be rocking. This is going to be it's going to be hot. It's going to be loud. And Alabama's facing a team that's capable of beating them. Will they? I don't know. But they are capable. This isn't going to be a huge upset. This is a team, to me, if these two teams played 10 times, it would be, 6-4, 7-3. Maybe Alabama's a little better. But this is a legitimate football team they're playing. And if they catch a hot quarterback like they caught last year, it's going to be tough.
The one thing I was talking about where you're trying to defend or game plan against somebody who improvises, it's one thing if you know what you get with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Right. Johnny Manziel gives you something that's unscripted where he doesn't know what he's doing. So how do you game plan for something that he might not know what he's doing?
It doesn't happen all that much, 6-8 times a game. But the threat of it all game, it's like having Randy Moss out there at wide receiver. They only throw 3 deep balls to him a game. But the fear of that, you have to make sure that every time he lines up, that you have a safety over the top, and that potential's there. But there really is no defense for that. There was no defense for Fran Tarkington. There was no defense for Steve Young in his day when he could make plays with his feet. This is outside of the game that you just have to be a good athlete. You have to put your game plan together, and then you have to let your defensive backs know that this is going to happen. And don't get mesmerized by it. Don't get despondent that he gets out of the pocket and makes a play. It's part of the game. That's one of his weapons. Interestingly, though, when Alabama has faced these dual-threat quarterbacks in Saban's history, they have not been all that good against them. I went through this list. Steven Garcia beat him. He rushed for 11 yards. Jordan Jefferson beat him for LSU. He rushed for 43 yards. Cam Newton, who body type is not like Johnny, but maybe improvisation-wise and the way he put to the game, he probably is closest. He ran for 39 yards against Alabama. Tebow did it with his arm. He never rushed for even over 50 yards. Denard Robinson, nothing. Olsen in the national championship, nothing. Manziel is the only one that has been able to bring both to the table, and that's why he was so successful against Alabama.
He's Gary Danielson from CBS. He'll be part of the broadcast crew, College Station with A&M and Alabama coming up tomorrow. Access to Johnny Manziel for you guys, how much have you had?
I waved to him as he walked by.
What is standard procedure?
From my angle, he looked like he was just under 6 feet. But I don't know. I was 20 yards away. What do I know?
But do you want to talk to the star player, or would you rather talk to him?
Of course, I would love to. Sure,
okay. But you guys didn't get access to him?
Well, today's the day. I don't believe we are going to get access. I don't quite understand it, to tell you the truth. I would love to ask him a lot of questions. One of the interesting things about this is their All-American tackle, Jake Matthews, came back for a senior year. He sacrificed millions to come back and play his senior year at Texas A&M. And his quarterback wasn't willing to sacrifice one off season of autographs to commit the same way that Matthews was. I'd like to ask him why he couldn't just wait 6 more months. I'd love to ask him that question. He basically risked a lot of guys' work. Mm-hmm. And apparently he's going to play and nothing's going to happen. But he sure took it right to the edge, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I think if I was his teammate, I'd like to say to him, what the hell are you doing? You got the rest of your life to do that stuff. Can't you just wait 5 more months?
Yeah, but he got away with it.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess he did. I don't make the rules here. And, I'm not on the committee to judge that. But it's a really tough situation I know, Dan, you and I have talked about this countless times, about how football is unique from all the other sports in that you're required to go 3 years out of high school, where these athletes nowadays are getting better at a younger age. Look at the golf we just had, Jordan Spieth. They're out there making millions of dollars, basketball, baseball, every other sport but football. And, it's a new world out there, and I guess college football is going to have to react to this.
Have we had a Johnny Manziel before?
Not exactly, because of, when Tebow came in his 4 years, I took the CBS job in 2006, just when Tebow broke onto the scene. And it seemed to me, as I look back, that Tebow broke onto the scene just when the blogs and talk radio and the fan got to bypass the editors. It wasn't the editors that decided who did the stories. It was the fans and people like you and people calling the show decided what to talk about. Mm-hmm. Well, Johnny Manziel broke onto the scene right when social media has taken off. And it's, it's times 10 now. And Manziel's attitude, he does like to be, a rebel. He relishes in that. He likes that chip on his shoulder. He plays best when he's like that. But I will say this, and I think it's given Texas A&M a personality, because they were always the other school in Texas. And now, I don't know, we all were young once. You're on one of those teams where your best player is tough, he's chippy, and he doesn't back down. Well, you can't back down either now. That's the stage has been set. And this is a very tough, physical football team. They seem to be finessed because of the offense they run. But, they went into Tuscaloosa last year, and they stood toe-to-toe with Alabama and played some football. Alabama tried to push them around, and they didn't. They're going to have to do that again.
Before I let you go, and I know that's stepping out of the SEC, but more interesting situation, Texas or USC right now?
Well, I have to admit that I had no intention of watching the Texas-BYU game. And I was shuffling through, and I could not believe my eyes. I think USC, it's more of a, Lane Kiffin doesn't have confidence in his quarterback, and the play calling is a little bit weird. And, I think it's more of a, situation there. It's hard to believe in the Coliseum losing to Washington State. But I could not believe my eyes watching Texas against BYU. I just went, what is going on? They've got 18 starters back, and BYU is running the same play over and over and over again, and it looks like they had never seen the zone keep before.
Yeah. I look at the USC situation, and I know that sanctions hurt them, but this is still the team that was ranked number one in the country. They had enough talent to be ranked number one to start this season last year. They didn't have depth, but now, at least they had starters. Now you don't even have starters that scare you.
Well, I wonder, as all these things are hitting the media, what Pat Hayden at USC and Ohio State are thinking right now. I mean, Ohio State went undefeated last year, and they took their punishment, and USC's taken a heavy punishment. I do think that the lack of scholarships are hitting right about now. The guys that should be juniors and seniors, there are just not as many that are there. So it could add up. Maybe, that this is the year that they always thought would be their tough year, and they did it with Mears for a couple of years or accelerating scholarships, and this could be it. But, hey, I'm surprised by, the new offenses, and, you guys over there at NBC are going to start to taste it yourselves with Chip Kelly and their, are changing the game. I'm not so sure exactly where it's going to end up. My personal belief is that, when you spread the teams out and you keep a running back and a quarterback in the backfield, the most difficult thing for the defense is that they really have two running backs back there. But it only works if one of those two can throw. And that it really gets down to that. The guy has to be able to produce yards with his arm, and that's why Manziel and when Michael Vick's on, it's a really tough offense to stop.
Have fun tomorrow, as only you can, Gary. Tell Vern we said hello, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, Gary Danielson, CBS.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.